So there's so much to talk about. I am back, guys, for a daily show. I always feel nervous when I miss a show, and I always normally feel a little bit worried when I miss a show because then the first show back, it's like very nerve wracking, and I don't know why I still get nervous even though I do this every single day. It's crazy, but I'm back, and we're going to be talking about a lot of things on today's show. A hell of a lot. There's so much to discuss, and I'm going to be looking at the live chat as well as long as my battery can last. We have a 6 to 8:30 load shedding, slap bang in the middle of our daily show, unfortunately. So I'm going to go as long as I can, and talk to you guys as best as I can and give as much input as possible. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to be reacting to Victor Mpitsang's presser, because I'll explain to you why I'm doing it from raw, and I haven't seen anything, no quotes, nothing. I've seen the squad though. We're going to discuss that as well. But I want to go through each individual thing that he said and try to understand why he picked the team that he picked. But before we get going, before we get started, please, guys, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. Please click the notification bell for all future videos. Don't forget to smack that like button, comment, and share. Also, download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. And if you want to help us grow and promote South African cricket, become a patron today. Go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your regular features, updates, etc. There's a lot of things that we put on the site, so go and check everything out there too. So let's get straight into it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let's do this. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid, and this is the show where we talk about all the major talking points in South African cricket. And today, it's a massive show for you today. There's a lot to get through. There's a lot for me to discuss. Let me start off and to speak a little bit about what happened, why I missed this last show. I got an opportunity to go to the SA20 launch. It was an incredible experience. I really enjoyed it, although it was very tiring because I had a flight the morning and then I flew back the same day, the evening, directly after I was done with all my content. I couldn't do a daily show because obviously I would have been on the plane. I had to board at 7 o'clock. So it did make it a little bit difficult for me to be able to produce content from a live perspective. There was a lot of people obviously connected to the Wi-Fi there at the venue, so it made things tricky. What I did is I did put together a little bit of a behind the scenes vlog of my experience and what my view was of the actual event. It's funny actually because they kind of set us up and played a prank on us. We thought that we were going to be in this hot, blacked out room with aircon, dark, and a little press conference with a table, and they had a major reveal. So go and check. I've revealed it in the actual video. The behind the scenes footage shows everything. So go ahead and check that. I did a couple of interviews as well, but it was very difficult because basically the entire Joburg was there. The entire Johannesburg was there. It was only myself and Fidos, I think, from Cape Town, that was at the event. So we tried to give as much interviews as possible. I had to get as many interviews as possible that I could do as in the short space of time that I was given, because everybody wanted a piece of, for example, Deval Brevis, KG Rabada. I mean, I was quite surprised actually that the Proteas managed to make it on a flight and then be at the SA20. It was incredible for them to have actually shown that commitment to come to the launch, because I mean, I would have expected them to be jet lagged, tired, and not have the chance to actually do that. I see Lorenzo saying Joey Rasdin was funny. Yes, he was extremely funny. Yeah, extremely. He was really good in the way he approached it. What I like about Joey is the balance between comedy and cricket, because of his knowledge. A similar person that also does really well in these situations is also someone like Simi Arif, as well as, although Simi does get quite critical sometimes and he gets quite harsh. And also another one is Dalen Oliver, that I've really enjoyed as a comedian that crosses the cricket barrier. So those are like my top three, basically, from a comedic cricket perspective. Joey is excellent. I think his experience and his knowledge about the game really helps, but he also knows how to make awkward situations funny. And I think that's what I really respected about his performance, you could say, or the way he presented that particular event. It was excellent. He anchored it really well. We also got an opportunity to see Show Majosi and Mita. That was awesome again. I never got the chance to meet Mikasa. They were at the event. I'm sure you can see the full live stream on SA20's channel as well, but I gave my view of the content because it's obviously a fan channel. We want to try and get fan content going and give our point of view of what we thought. I finally got an opportunity to meet Deval Brevis in person. That was awesome. We had a long conversation as well, just chatting off air. It was good to catch up with him and actually meet him in person for the first time. It's actually the first thing he told me. He's like, it's so great to see you in person and actually finally meet you in person. He towers above me, guys. Basically, every single cricketer towers above me that I interview. I think only Matthew Brzezinski is like the same height as me. That's a little push out to my buddy Matthew Brzezinski. But like majority of the guys are all taller than me. I mean, now when Corbin and Marshall Lange and even Vian Libbe and those guys walked in, John Smudge, all of them, I'm just looking up at them. It's quite tough to interview. That's why I prefer to sit down and interview them. It's a lot better because then it doesn't look like I'm that short. And I'm not that short. I think I'm quite average, 1.73. So I don't think that's so bad. 173 centimeters, etc. But everybody's legitimately taller than me. It's quite a shock. So yeah, that was an awesome experience. I really enjoyed it. I wish I was a little bit longer there. That would have maybe been a lot less stressful for me because I struggle to sleep, guys, and unwind, especially when I know that there's content coming and there's content that I need to do. So last night, I mean, I got home about probably 10:30, quarter to 11. Then I obviously got ready to just go to bed, etc. And I just couldn't switch off. And I was thinking and creatively thinking about how I'm going to put a little vlog together of my experience. And the ideas were popping up into my head. And I just said, let me just strike the iron while it's hot and go for it. And yeah, I ended up working till 4 a.m. in the morning to get you that video. So please go watch it and share it and promote it because that will really help the channel as well when SA20 and other people and sponsors see, oh, there's this channel that is doing great content, etc. I hope it's great content, but that we are doing something out there and they might want to get involved with us so we can do more things and promote and get better and better and better as we go along. So yeah, that was an amazing experience. I really enjoyed that. Unfortunately, I thought it was a bit of poor planning from their part, from CSA's part actually. The Victor Mpitsang press conference was at 10 o'clock. My flight was at 10 o'clock. And it was in Pretoria and the event was in Wanderers. So it was almost impossible for the journalists to actually travel from there all the way to the SA20 when majority of them were going to go to the SA20. Because Pretoria to Joburg, it's quite a trek and quite a drive, and it can be a lot of traffic, especially during that hours of the day. So that was a bit of an issue. I missed that presser, and then I also didn't get an opportunity to stand in the mix zone because I was busy interviewing players. So that was a bit of a problem for me. But other than that, I had a great time. Thank you for the opportunity. And for you guys to give me an opportunity as well for having this platform so that I can go, because this platform, the views, the engagement that we get, it's the reason why I get opportunities to be able to go to events and cover them for you guys, because you guys are tuning into the content and watching it. So thank you for that. So let's get into the squad. Let's start our show. I want to chat about the team first before I get into the comments from Victor Mpitsang. Just trying to find it now. I'm sure I exported it. Just don't know where it went to now. What the hell? That's strange. I'm gonna have to look for it, guys. I'm gonna try again to export it. I don't know what happened. But yeah, I'm going to go through the team sheet the team first before I get to showing you guys the video and chatting about the actual video, because I think that it's a much better way for me to approach this, because then I can maybe give my view before I see the reasons why Victor Mpitsang gave for the selections that he selected. So I'm exporting the audio file again so that I can play it for you guys. I've been trying the entire day to find a way to do it because we didn't get the video. So that was unfortunate. We just got the audio. So now I had to create my own basic little video so that we can get into the things. But let me have a look at the squad for you guys. I'll bring it up on the screen for you. So as you can see, Dane Alga's captain. We've got Temba Bavuma back into the squad. There's a debutant in Kutsi in the squad. First time call up. The Brain is back. Hervier's been called. Hammer, Janssen, Klaasen's been called up. Maharaj Ngiri, Nokia Rabada. Steerman has been called up. Van der Dussen, Verreina, and Zonder's been called up again. Initially, when I looked at the squad, my first thoughts was that from an experience perspective, domestic wise, the squad looks quite balanced from that perspective. I think that we've got quite a few guys in the squad that have toiled away at in South African cricket for a while. The Brainer, I always felt, deserved another opportunity, perhaps in the Test arena. After he had 100 in Sri Lanka, he kind of just disappeared after that. No one selected him again after that. So I understand that call up, especially with Reinhard van Tonder not being picked in the night side, which is another shock for me. I think that was a massive shock for me that he's not playing for the Knights. Ryan Rickleton, I saw the press release talking about the fact that he got injured and that but he'll still be available for the Warriors, which was a weird one for me as well. But I think Victor Mpitsang, I heard that Victor Mpitsang does explain it in his particular audio. So I'm going to go through that a little bit later to try and understand why he did what he did and why he went with his decision. I think the rest of the team is pretty much okay. I'm happy with the squad. I think especially in Australia with the Steerman selection, the guy is quite quick, but I don't think he'll play. If I look at this particular team, I don't think Steerman will play. I think Rabada, Nokia, and Gidi, that's your team there, and Janssen, those are your fast bowlers. So I'm okay with the squad. I'm not actually that angry about the squad. I'm okay. I think I do though feel that someone like Aiden Markram is maybe a little bit hard done by because he's been moved around a lot, and I'm a big fan of his, of course. I'm going to probably protect him or whatever and be a little bit biased, but it's the right thing for him to go back into domestic cricket and go find form again. I hope that he plays in the Titans games now. I think the decision was fair to drop him, I think, because you want to reward players that have been in form currently, and he's been out of form recently. So it's going to be interesting how we're going to set up. I know a lot of people are going to probably want a 7-4 split because our batting is weak. I know a lot of people might maybe think about having a more balanced side, maybe a 6-5. I always prefer 6-5, personally. I think that having all of our bowlers at our disposal is very important for us to win games. That's basically our best part of our team is actually our bowling attack. We literally just need our top order batters to perform. And if they do so and they put runs on the board, then I feel our bowling attack will be fine in any circumstances. So the bowlers that we have, and the fact that Simon Harmer and Keshav Maharaj are in the squad as well as regular now, I think that is a massive boost as well, because that means in any conditions you can pick teams. So for me personally, having Marco Janssen in the side, the way he's batted recently, I'm not comfortable to fully say that he's a number 7 yet. But I do feel a lot less worried with him in the team because of the way he batted in recent times. And I think Australia might suit his style of batting. So I'm not that worried necessarily about this particular squad. I think either way, 7-4 or 6-5 split, I think we could do well either way against Australia. I think that if we turn up with the right attitude and our batters and our top order batters find form, because, for example, the likes of Dean Alga, um, it's not. There is something that I feel that he needs to get right. He needs to get his form right. He needs to come out and score at a better rate, and not at a better rate, sorry, at more consistently, sorry, and set the tone for the likes of Sal Evia to be able to, for them to group together as a pair and really put on runs on the board, because we've been lacking in that department. The opening pairs have been poor for a very long time. And if I had to bring Aiden back, I would like him to play opening as an opening partner, as the opening partner of Dinaga again. I think that opening is the best position for him personally. I believe he's an opener. I don't know how he's feeling currently. Maybe perhaps I have to speak to him when I do get an opportunity to do so. Um, and then we can maybe get more insight into that. Guys, I'm coming right back. I'm just going to step out quickly. I just want to get a quick cable for my light so that I can stay on, because the thing is dying so quickly. I don't understand what's happening. I need to get me new equipment. So I'm coming back right now. So just wait for me. Okay, much better. I'm back. Whoa. Yeah, I just had to plug that in quickly. I think I'm gonna start doing this from now onwards. Now it's so much brighter. Gee whiz, I can't even see properly. Okay. So yeah, so I'm gonna read some of the comments along before we get into the Victor Mpitsang and what he has to say. Good to see Klaasen and Tienus the Brain back into the test squad, especially Klaasen after having a good year domestically and for the Proteas. He also averaged above 50 last season in the 4-day stuff. I've seen a lot of people complaining about Klaasen's selection on social media, etc., saying that maybe he shouldn't have been selected. You are right, he did perform last season. I obviously would like to see more consistency from him. And I really want to try to understand him more. I want to see how he can move from that into international cricket. But I do believe that Calvert will play ahead of him. I think he's more of a backup, in my opinion. Our batting looks light, bro. Hopefully, we can go with a 7-4 split. But it doesn't always mean that because your batting is light that you have to go with a 7-4 split just because of that all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to help having an extra batter. I feel sometimes it could handicap us more by dropping one of our best players for another batter, just hoping that they will perform. I think these top six need to take responsibility. That's what I think. They need to step up and take responsibility. They've been underperforming for way too long now. It's been way too long that our batters have been underperforming in Test cricket. One player maybe steps up here and there. I want to see more consistency from everybody, and they know that. And Dean Algo will speak about that too. I'm not going to lie. I think we're going to get hammered in Australia. Khalid, who is your top seven in Australia? We'll get to that a little bit later. Khalid, okay, well, Jack, I wish I had the sponsor. I wish. I just wear it because it's quick and easy for me to just grab it and put it on. Um, can't wait to watch his OP Blitz. I think you're talking about the SA20. I wish you were saying it about this show. Let's look at some of the latest comments. We've got over here Mpitsang out. Riza Hendricks needs to make a Cristiano Ronaldo like interview and explain what went on in the camp at the T20 World Cup. Let me try and get that interview. Right? Maybe I can do that interview and not be an arsehole or be about it and do it the right way. Not trying to look for fame or not trying to look for own narcissistic gains. I would like to actually get the story and the truth. Um, about it and chat to him and how he's feeling about the situation. I would like to know his opinion. I don't know if he'll speak. He's not necessarily someone that's always for the interviews, but I'll give it a shot and try. So let me go and look what this man had to say, Mr. Victor Mpitsang, and react to it with you guys on the show. So let's get into it. Let's see if I can share that with you. Hopefully, I can.
Feedback for his
Awesome.
experience, I presume.
Yeah, look, I mean, first of all, I think it's a big blow for KP missing out with that injury. But we there's a few injuries actually going around. But Tennis is an experienced player. Has been part of the national team few years ago. But he's a guy that we've monitored well enough, and he's also been part of the SAA side. And he's had a decent season last year. So. If you look at that batting lineup, there's a bit of lack of experience. Good to have Rassie back. Good to have Temba back. But we need a little bit of extra experience.
So he emphasizes that the need for extra experience. Now, my view, my view is different on this because I feel that we don't have experience even if we select experienced older players. Picking Klaassen doesn't help with that experience. Picking Tiernus the Brain doesn't necessarily help with that experience. None of them have played in Australia either in Test cricket, so that's not really picking experience. So I would have always gambled with younger players because I feel that they can build that experience. They will gain more from the situation than I feel someone like a Klaassen or someone like a Tiernus. Although I do believe that Tiernus de Bruin, it was a bit unfair on Tiernus de Bruin the way he got dropped from the team. I don't know what went on there. But I do feel that we could have dealt with that situation differently. Tiernus de Bruin has been one of the most consistent domestic 4-day cricket batters in South Africa for the last, so as long as I can remember. Ever since I walked into this industry, I was hearing about Tiernus de Bruin. So for me, I will always though back the younger players, and I don't think Tiernus is the problem over here in the selection. I don't think there's many problems necessarily, but I would always back the younger players. So, for example, with Kyle Verreynne, he's the younger player. I hope they back him over Klaassen, and then I would have picked up someone a little bit more younger behind him as a backup that is maybe can learn from this experience. It's maybe a little bit too soon to Jordan Herman, but a player of that ilk would have been nice to be in the camp to learn from that experience. But on the flip side, then we have another issue because if you play a player like Jordan Herman, he's losing out on valuable experience in the 4-day arena to get the numbers up so that he can show that he can play for South Africa one day. So Reinhard van Tonder would have probably been, and Tony de Zorzi would have been two of the players. I mean, Tony needs to obviously get that consistency back in 4-day cricket again for the Cobras. He hasn't necessarily hit the consistency that he would have been hoping for. He spoke to me about it in his interview as well, how he wants to improve his game and perform more consistently now that he's captain as well in certain formats. So I would like to see Tony down the line as well. It's another option. But Grant Roelofsen, why not him? Maybe they've given him opportunity also to score another season. Yeah, there. I see Lorenzo just mentioning it now, Grant Roelofsen. I see it now in the live chat. But I would have liked to see maybe a younger guy or that is played in the domestic scene. But perhaps from their perspective, I'm thinking maybe they think those younger guys need weight of runs more than they need the time in the camp right now at this particular stage in their life. So there's two ways of looking at it, I think. Let's continue.
As far as like judging South African batting at the moment, how do you go about doing it? Because it's been very inconsistent in Test cricket in the last year.
I think you review that, isn't it? I was just talking earlier about the personnel we had in the last Test match against England, where you only had the experienced guy like a Dean. Rassie had to come back with a broken finger. KP has had a wonderful run against India, but he's still a young guy in Test cricket. So I think at times, when you don't have the experience, guys do make mistakes. But we're hoping that I know it's a big series against Australia. We're hoping that they can click and start well up front on top, and then hopefully that can filter down. Look, I think it's a massive plus to have a guy like Temba back into the Test squad.
And I suppose just building on that.
Yeah, you see, it also might also help the fact that they understand each other. Like Dean understands those players that are coming into the team, the Tiernuses, the Heinrich Klaassens, the those players. He understands how they work, how they think, how they play. He understands what makes them tick. He's played with them for many years, so that also might help them as well with that regards to that knowledge going forward. Um, the reason why I say youngsters will be losing valuable experience or losing out on valuable experience is because they will be sitting on the bench. They won't be playing. So the chance they'll just be watching other players bat against them. And if they are struggling, what are they going to learn? So maybe at this particular time, we need to grow some experience in this team. And maybe that's the direction they're looking for. They're trying to look for the guys that have a little bit more of a calmer head and they understand their game so that they can get the ground running and then build that experience in Test cricket to help the younger guys come into the team. Perhaps they're thinking of that. Let's continue with Victor and see what else he has to say. It's a pity that only two journalists were there.
Vic, except for the fact that they are experienced and stuff. I mean, there's been evidence all over world cricket, actually, that batters just inherently, when they pass 30, just know the games inside out better, than a younger guy might perhaps.
Yeah, I think they make better decisions. I think that's the thing, and they're much calmer. I think that's if you, I mean, what's Dean is now 30 now. He's been around the block. He's gone through tough times. He understands his game. So hopefully he can bring that experience, that first class experience, into the system, and contribute well enough for us to do well in Australia.
Are you anticipating the batting structure being put together, the batting lineup being put together in the starting 11? One of the successes South Africa had, I go back to 2012, was playing 7 batters. Is that something that Mali actually hinted at last week when I talked to him? Is that something that you're looking at here? And who would the 7 batters be?
It will be interesting. I think the build up to that. I think first of all, having had the selection meeting is to making sure that we have those resources when he needs them, and you also try and look at what your opposition does when they play at home. What is best for them. But I think first of all, as Stu, I think what's important is we need to make sure that we put runs on the board. If your top 5, top 6 don't do the job, you're still putting everybody else under pressure. I think we need to start off there and making sure once we have the runs on the board, I think we know that we have a bowling attack that can put any team under pressure. So it's important that the top 6 at least fire there. But playing 7 batters, I think the coach will decide on that and see what's best for the team to making us sure that we get over the line.
Yeah, so it's clear to hear there that Victor's not in favor of the 7-4. Lorenzo saying people bemoaning Temba in Test side is absolutely ridiculous. The guy has been our best Test batter for the past 2 seasons period. This is not T20 hours, it's Test cricket. But that's what I tried to warn you guys about. The hatred for Temba has nothing to do with his performance all the time when he gets that hatred. I'm not talking about the criticism that you guys give him. That I've seen that there's been good criticism from our fan base, of course. It's the hatred for him. The hatred is beyond cricket. It's nothing to do with cricket. And that hatred is going to carry over into the Test team too. That people can't compartmentalize their hatred for him. They can't hate him for T20s and then hate him for ODIs, but then not hate him for Test cricket. They hate him or they don't hate him. And that's the problem. They are not looking at the cricket aspects. They're using the cricket aspects to back up why they hate him, yes. When they do have these hateful comments towards him, etc. So we can be a lot more sane in our observations of the whole thing, and we can be on this channel. I want to promote that. I want to promote fair criticism on everybody, whether a person does, whoever the person is. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible in doing that. And then sometimes I get caught up in my emotions, and obviously I run away with it when it comes to Temba, because I see the abuse on a daily. Guys, I get every single notification that comes through on Facebook, but I don't get to see every single one of them, obviously, because there are so many that happen on a daily. Every couple of minutes, 2 hours, there's to an hour. Every couple of minutes to an hour, there's comments coming through on a regular basis. So I can't read everything, but as soon as I go into posts and I look, it's terrible, guys. So that's why I get so upset and I come here all charged up, because it's not only about Test cricket. There's also issues on Facebook and other social media platforms. Chatil says, Khalid, you have contradicting views on Bavuma and Alga. You criticize Alga for lack of hundreds, but not Bavuma. They play different positions, bro. And I've criticized Bavuma for the lack of hundreds. I did say that he needs to score much more hundreds. But if his 50s are coming at match-winning causes, it's not necessarily necessary for him to necessarily always get hundreds. It would be great if he does. I mean, I would love to see him score hundreds. And there's going to be games where we're going to need him to, and he fails and we lose. But when it comes to Test cricket, he consistently scores high 50s. Dean Alga's job is to score hundreds as an opener for South Africa. So if you don't want to criticize him, because I have criticized Temba for not scoring runs consistently, but then you also have to criticize Dean Alga for not scoring runs as well. I've done both, I feel. So I'm sorry that it maybe comes across as me being contradicting, but I have said that Bavuma needs to score runs in ODI cricket, in white ball cricket. Unpopular opinion, I'll make Temba our test captain. Yes, Alga has been good, but I feel Temba is the better captain between the two. Interesting point of view there, Lorenzo. Very interesting point of view. Take that to Twitter. Let's see how people respond to you. Dean doesn't take wrong decisions to bat first when you have to bowl. I mean, yes, he has done that, actually. What are you talking about? He made a bad decision against England in the second test that lost us that match. It was all in the toss. They chose wrong. They misread the conditions. Bro, that's not true what you're saying. And Bavuma has made one mistake against the Netherlands, but we have to blame the team for not coming to the party, bro. And then we're not getting to the World Cup again, because that team didn't come out there with any energy looking to win. It looked like they underestimated the Netherlands, to be honest, to be perfectly honest with you. And they took it lightly. And it looked like you'd see it in their body language. The energies were low. What is that? No. So I'm not defending. I do believe that Temba shouldn't be in the T20 squad anymore. We should find a replacement and get a new captain. I've said that. That's my opinion and my belief that we need to go in a new direction. So yeah, I've always tried to defend Bavuma for the criticism and just keep the criticism on his cricket differently. I mean, even in that video that went viral, I spoke about Bavuma in the video that I didn't want to show my point of view, because then I feel that it almost takes this almost like this the emphasis and the oomph away from the actual two opposing views, and that's why I took my opinion out of it, because then it looks like 2 against 1 in a way. But I said it in that time when Lorenzo called in. I agreed with Lorenzo when he said that Bavuma shouldn't be picked and Riza should be picked, and I did believe that. So yeah, just to move away from the Bavuma thing. Let's continue. Let's continue.
Anyone else?
Sure. Obviously, there's 2 series to go in terms of the World Test Championship. How important will this series against Australia be from a momentum building point of view, especially against strong opponents like Australia?
I think crucial. I think we also need to be cognizant of the fact that where are we on the log. We definitely want to make sure that even though we lost the series in England, it's going to be a tough series against Australia because they're playing at home. Never easy to beat them there, but we need to make sure that we have a good series there to give ourselves the best possible chance to get on top of that log going forward next year, July, and then we talk a different thing. But I think it's not a lot of test matches that we are playing, but 2 crucial ones that we need to make sure that we're on the other side, of the results.
Chadley, this is contradicting though. Sorry, I'm just looked at this comment. I think Alga has done a great job as a test captain. Not his fault his team can't bat around and Victor doesn't pick young performing players. Same with Bavuma when in the T20s. It's not Bavuma's fault that they don't pick informed players, and it's not Bavuma's fault that they pick him. And it's not his fault either that the team around him collapsed when he actually did try and put in a performance. So it goes both ways as well. But I agree with you. The captain shouldn't be blamed for that. That's what I'm trying to say. I want neutral. There needs to be consistency. The poor sound quality, especially when Victor speaks. I can't help that. That's the audio that we were sent. No matter what I do to it, I've tried to soup it up and make it louder, but that just is what it is. The wind is so loud here wherever they are. So I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, in England it was spoken about needing to nurture or search within our domestic system for players who can make the grade at test level, while deepening the pool of talent from which you can choose. Looking at this side, do you think you've achieved that goal in finding and selecting players who you think are best suited to the conditions that the team will face in Australia and going forward against the West Indies?
I think so. I think, first of all, when you do sit down and you sort of select teams, you always look at the conditions that they'll be playing at. As I said, I think first of all, we sort of sat down and had a group of players that we needed to select from. And then obviously there has been a few injuries, and we needed to make sure that the 16-man squad that we've picked will be well suited for those conditions in Australia.
Guys, can you just let me know if the audio is fine? We got one complaint about the audio. Can you just let me know if you guys can hear it clearly? Because everything in my sound sounds clear. So just let me know in the comment section, please, as we continue.
Just a point of clarity quickly. In the press release, it said Rickleton is out because he's got an ankle problem but can play for the Lions. Maharaj has got an injury but can still go. How do you
Look, Maharaj has had an injury against Netherlands.
Yes.
We obviously saw that. He's actually fit. I think he's going to play one of the games. So he's not as severely. So he'll be 100% fit by the time we leave. The process is quite simple when we do select teams. We obviously, as I said, we have a group of players. We have a group of players to select from, and then the medical team will give clearance of those players that are eligible for selection. And the report has come that Ryan Rickleton is not fit to go to Australia.
okay, but fit to play for the Lions?
It's a risk that the Lions are taking. I think if you look at the report, and I don't want to get into the medical side of it because I don't think I struggled at biology, but I don't want to make those calls. You know, the medical team makes those calls, and they make sure that when we go away on a tour, everybody is fit to go.
That's strange. So it's actually the Lions that have decided to take a risk with Rickleton and adding him into the team. My assumption is that the squads that are released are bigger because they are playing two games within a short space of time, and I think they picked I think a lot of teams are actually playing at. I don't know. I think there's some teams that might be playing at home, 2 home games. I know Newlands is the Western Province team is playing 2 games at home. So they have a bigger squad there, and he was selected there. So it is strange, but he explained it quite well, Victor, because he said that the South African medical team didn't clear him to play for the test, and the Lions are taking a risk by putting him into the squad. So we're gonna have to wait and see. Once the games start going, and if Ryan starts in the first 2 games or the next 2 games, then we can start deciding what's going to happen. I doubt he will play in the opening game. I think the likes of Rassi and all the test players will probably play. Riza Hendricks will probably also play, and Temba and all of them. So I doubt he'll play. But it does seem a bit weird that one medical team said, and the other medical team said, no. So it's weird. Let's continue.
I mean, there's obviously a very established pecking order in that bowling attack, Vic. But are you guys chuffed to be giving Gerald an opportunity to experience, the test camp at this juncture of his career?
You see, for Rickleton, before this guy asked this question, good question actually. What is great about Gerald's selection is he will learn from this experience, but being amongst the bowlers like KG and like Anas and all of these bowlers and Lungi, and seeing them firsthand in the camp in Australian conditions, he'll learn about the conditions by even bowling in the nets there, because the turf nets over there are really good as well in Australia, and also bowling in the middle in practice will really help him a lot. Batting's a little bit different when you've got the likes of Stark and then bowling at you in a high pressure situation. It's a lot different, but I think Gerald will really learn from this experience a lot more, I feel, from this experience than playing for the Knights currently. We know what he can do. He's quick, he's accurate, he's played really well for the Knights in the last 2 seasons. So I think that's a smart move to bring him into the team. We've kind of done that really well with our bowlers. We've recycled our bowlers excellently over the years. I've never had an issue with the way we select our bowlers. But preparing our batters for Test cricket is our biggest issue. And finding players that can step up and seamlessly move into Test cricket has been a massive issue. We need to improve on that.
He's had a couple of domestic seasons now. He's a feisty cricketer, almost like the ideal, almost you want to say tour to go and show him, what Test cricket might be about, even if he doesn't play it.
Yeah, look, I think it's a great opportunity for Gerald. One thing that you mentioned that he's played around, I think the concern with him, I know he's a guy that's been part of our under-19 setup. I think the first year that he started, he's under 19 year who led the Knights bowling attack and missed out in the following year because of injury and the workloads and stuff like that. But good to see that in the last 2 years he's actually been on the park and played, and he's bowling quickly. And I think that's what we probably would need in Australia. He becomes another option for that bowling attack if something does happen. But the bowlers, touch wood, nothing does. But I think it will be a hell of an experience for him to tour with the team.
Basically the same sentiments I had. So far so good from Victor Mpitsang. I don't really think there's too much of a year that I feel that he said wrong here. So if there is any criticism towards him for this particular squad, I'm struggling to see where it's coming from. Really, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts.
He's almost got a fast bowler mentality, feisty, from the outset.
No, definitely. I don't know which bandana he'll be putting on in his head when he does play, but and that's what you need. You need guys to come in and not push back, especially against the Australians.
I'll ask you a couple of T20 World Cup things quickly. Just a reaction to Shamsi saying that he didn't feel he got support from you and Mark regarding his non-selection for a couple of games in Australia.
Look, I think, I've actually, it's disappointing to hear that from Shamo because if there were issues that he could have, he was more than welcome to come have a chat with me about that. I think at the end of the day, when the team was selected and the bowling attack was selected, it was best suited for the conditions that the team played. And I think that, I think you did ask me one of those questions. Horses for courses. I think you did call me and asked me that, and purely that was the case. And I'm very disappointed to hear that from Shamo, because I was there, and obviously my door's always open for anybody to have issues. And if I'm there and the coach is there, we can have that conversation about that. But as I said, the bowling attack that we put out there was based on what the conditions were.
And I'm going to ask you a question that you don't want me to ask you. I'll ask it because you're here. And how did you get that balance with Reza to go explain to him why he wasn't playing when he was in the form that he was in?
Well done,
I
Stuart.
think, we did have the conversation as well. Look, at the end of the day, we had the captain that was there. It's unfortunate that Reza didn't play, but we had our captain there, and we had to give him the best possible chance because, the captaincy, yes, he needs to also. We would have liked Tema to contribute a little bit more, but the role that he plays on the field was just as big, and the role that he plays as the leader was severe as well. So unfortunate for Reza to have missed out, but those were the calls that we had to make.
Any other questions before?
Okay, guys, that's that. Pretty much summed it up over there, clear on Bavuma. Now we know why Bavuma was picked every single time. They believe that his captaincy and his work in the field. I don't agree with that necessarily because we needed him with a bat more, I feel. So he needed to be a lot better with a bat, and he didn't perform, and he deserves the criticism for his batting performance. So even though he started coming into himself a little bit towards the end of the tournament, it wasn't enough. A little too late, unfortunately. That's why I was so adamant that he needed to catch form before the tournament started, so he can come into the tournament with at least that backing from everybody, knowing that he can perform. But so far, I'm fine. I'm fine with the team. I'm okay with it. I would like to see the squad that the team that they select. And I will keep that. We'll discuss that a little bit later on, a little bit when I can get everybody on the board, because I know a lot of people are having load shedding in Joburg similar times to us. So I will do a show with a panel so that we can get people's views on what they will start and what team they'll play. I would probably immediately go with the experienced guys back into the side. So for me, definitely it's gonna have to be Timber now and Sarel. I mean, it's gonna be Dean and Sarel to open the batting, which we can keep that consistency going. I hope Sarel can get some runs and show us that there is a play inside of him that can do it more consistently. And then at 3, I would like to probably see Tiernus de Bruin get an opportunity at 3 now that he's getting selected to replace Keegan. Put him in the position that he deserves to play. You don't protect a player that is already in his 30s, for example, or is 30 odd. You protect a younger player, yes, that doesn't have the maturity maybe in his own game. That's when you protect him and put him at 6. But Tiernus has been around the block. He should be knocking on the door for that number 3 spot, if not even take it. So he should bat at 3. 4 for me is Rassi, and then 5, Temba Bavuma. That's your top 5. Then it's 6, Calvarena. That's my top 6. Now the only discussion comes in whether we're going to go with that extra batter at 7, or we're going to play the all-rounder in Marco Jansen at 7. So that's where things change a little bit and get a little bit different, because that will decide whether we're going to give a debutant an opportunity or we're going to go with an extra player. Khalid, who is the backup opener? I have absolutely no clue. That's my concern actually with the team. We don't have, because Peter Malan's injured. And our openers currently are all youngsters in nothing other than Peter. So at the moment, we don't really have a backup. So I'm really hoping that we find the next generation of opener that we're going to get. There's a lot of people that are going to knock on the door this year. Eddie Moore's playing at Western Province as well. So he's going to also be knocking on the door. Pavuma must bat at 3. You guys keep saying he's our best batsman. So why can't he bat at 3? You can bat at 3 also. Maybe he can bat at 3. But I would have put him at 4, I think, or 4 or 5. I mean, 5 is normally where he bats, but you can push him up the order. But I don't think push him up the order for no reason. But senior players need to, maybe I need to back what I said. Senior players need to take more responsibility. Perhaps he can bat at 3 or 4, and Rassi and him. And then Tiernus can come in a little later. Perhaps that can be an option. I don't mind, actually. For me, it's about the situation, reading the conditions and playing to it. It's important. I want the best batters to come out in the middle and play when they need to play. Keshav Maharaj is the backup opener, fully fledged all-round. Would like to see SA batting plans versus Australia. Bowlers, considering Australia's wariness to rotate bowlers in a series. Check what the India did last year in 2018. Tire them out. The reason is he's the best and senior player. Good reason. Good reason, John. I can't really deny that, though. It's a good point of view. I think either way we can go with that one. Guys, please go and watch all my content that I did. Please share that video, man. I put a lot of effort into it. Stayed up till 4 a.m. in the morning to do that video. So the behind the scenes video. So please go ahead. There's some comedy in there. There's some laughs in there. There's some seriousness in there. There's a bit of everything. So please go ahead and support us with that. Go and share it to as many people as possible. Last comment. Honestly, I feel like Alvaren's technique has insane potential. Problem is he always ends up batting when all has broken loose for the Proteas. That is true as well. And also, but I have seen him move his feet a lot more again in the basic cricket. Recently, in the recent match that I watched him play, that 87 that he scored was a very good knock. He was looking very comfortable at the crease and comfortable in his crease as well and out. So, yeah, I hope we can see that Calvarena in this particular team. That would be great. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I'll speak to you guys tomorrow with another daily show. Stay safe. Take care. Comment in the comment section and do all the prompts that I've asked you in the descriptions. See you very soon. Peace out and enjoy your evening.